The second thing that we want to talk about today are color schemes. And color schemes are color relationships that have been deemed to be pleasing. It's a basis from which to start a project. And of course, artists are always breaking the rules, but these are fundamental relationships that you can use in order to come up with a color composition that really works in a very nice way. So it's all based on the color wheel. And I have a color wheel here in front of me that's the color wheel that we made for this class. There are 5 color schemes that we need to be concerned with. The first one is monochromatic. And a monochromatic color scheme uses only one color on the color wheel plus its tints and shades. So one color plus tints and shades. And as we know, tints in watercolor are dilutions of the pigment color, and shades are the addition of black to the pigment color. So here's an example. Let's take yellow, for example. We'll use the lemon yellow, and here is your pigment color right here. If you're going to do a tint of that color, you need to dilute that color by adding water. With the shade, we need to use black. And with yellow, we want to use just the slightest bit of black because it gets dark very quickly. So here is a shade of yellow. And of course, you can actually, if you need a color that is kind of a little off in terms of the yellow, you can always dilute this and make a tint of the shade. The next color scheme is analogous. And that takes a color and 2 colors on either side of it, or in one direction or in the other. So if we were to take orange, for instance, we could go yellow-orange, cadmium yellow light. Or we could go red-orange, orange, yellow-orange, cadmium yellow light. But usually it's not more than 4 because you do not want to end up with the third primary in the mix. So if we're doing orange, for instance, so I'm going to mix my basic color first. So this is going to be my orange. And I can go redder with it by adding a little bit more red to it, a little bit more Scarlet Lake. Or I can go more yellow with it. So this is then considered an analogous color scheme. Again, you can tint these so that you get more variation with the color scheme. And if you so choose, you can add straight cadmium yellow to this arrangement of analogous colors. The next color scheme is triadic. So these are 3, analogous is 3 to 4 colors next to each other. Triadic is exactly the way it sounds. It means that you've created an equilateral triangle, and those 3 colors that come to the point of the equilateral triangle are the color scheme that you would use. We could do blue, yellow, and red because those are equal distance from one another on the color wheel. You can do violet, orange, and green, or you could do a tertiary for that matter. You could do yellow-green, would be, I believe, red-violet or blue-violet, yellow-green, blue-violet, and red-orange. So let's do it, keep it simple. We'll do yellow. I'm going to use cadmium yellow. Again, you can dilute these if you want them a little thinner. This works for almost everything. Then we would use Scarlet Lake. and you would use ultramarine blue. And that is your triadic color scheme. 3 colors, equal distance on the wheel. The next one is complementary. Now we've talked about complementary as being a means of creating shadows without losing the richness and intensity of the color. But you can have complementary color schemes. Of course, the most famous one is Christmas, which is red and green. But you could have blue, ultramarine blue, for instance, and orange, which is the complement. And you will find that when you use the complementary relationship of 2 colors, it creates a relationship where when they are touching one another, it makes the blue seem bluer and the orange seem oranger. Why that is probably has something to do with the way the eye receives the light waves. But if you want something to really stand out and be very punchy, use a complementary color scheme. The last but not least is split complementary. And this makes for really nice relationships. And what you do is you take and choose a base color. For instance, let's do the violet. And the opposite of violet is yellow. So you would take, instead of doing yellow, you would take the 2 colors on either side of the yellow. So one would be yellow-green and the other would be yellow-orange. So you need to mix up a little yellow-orange, and you would mix up a yellow-green. So I'm going to use sap green. If I want a really nice yellow-green, I'm not going to use the cadmium yellow that we used to create the yellow-orange. I'm going to use the lemon yellow. Why? Because cadmium yellow has a little bit of red in it, and green has blue in it, and we don't want the 3 primaries create a duller green. So what are we going to do with these? What I'd like you to do is create some sort of a design. This will be sort of a fun thing to do.